Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast. Absolute honor, absolutely an honor that you've joined the Industrial Talk Podcast, where we celebrate industrial heroes, the women and men of industry, the women and men of manufacturing, and everything in between. You are bold, you are brave, you dare greatly, you innovate. What do you innovate? I love the innovation side. And you're changing lives and you're changing the world. That's why we celebrate you on the Industrial Talk Podcast. In the hot seat, in the Industrial Talk hot seat, Kenneth Forlemu. So that's F-O-R-L-E-M-U, Forlemu. I hope I got that right. Infor EAM is the topic. Let's get cracking. You know what's a great town? We had a little family matter to address. Not, it's just a friend. And we had to go up to Nashville, and we spent some time up there. You know what's so great about Nashville? They've got seasons. They've got great food. They've got great music. They've got great people. It's a great place. So anyway, we had a good time up there, and highly recommend if you put that on your bucket list. If you've never been there, great town. All right, we've been talking a lot about asset management and this IoT world that we live in. How do you enable all that? What do? You need a platform. You need a platform like Infor EAM. And that's the sort of the Industry 4.0 enabler. You need, you're collecting all this data, and you need a system. But this conversation is just a tad bit different. And what makes it so interesting is that many of the individuals that I have spoken to, and we have talked a lot about IoT, IIoT, Industry 4.0, Edge, everything, cloud, you name it, we've talked about it in that space. And it's all great conversation. But what if I want to approach it incrementally? What if I want to take this digital journey incrementally? You will need a system. You will need a platform to be able to proceed forward into the future, creating that business of resiliency. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have an enterprise asset management system. Just put that down. Why not start there? So you say, okay, I'm going to start there. I understand all about the devices. I understand all about the great innovation that is taking place within this Industry 4.0. But if I want to just do it incrementally, can I do it with a system and just be able to capture transactional data to get really clear indication on the health of my assets? And the answer is absolutely, positively yes. And that's what this is about. So let's say you want to go down this journey. You're going to have a system, right? You're going to have a system. And can I leverage that system to be able to generate insights into the health of my assets and my business on a real-time basis? And the answer is yes. You can take existing transactional data and be able to draw from that clear indication of the health of your assets. That's what we're going to be talking about with Kenneth. He is a solution architect. I go out to his stat card out on LinkedIn. Yep. Here is the cool thing about it. He's been with Infor, right? He is a senior architect. Yeah. He's been with Infor for 21 years. Woo! So he knows his stuff. He understands what business needs. He understands how to leverage technology to its fullest. Mark my words. You're going to love this particular interview because we're just helping listeners and individuals take this journey forward, this industrial 4.0 journey, and how do I do it? There's just a lot of moving parts, but I'll tell you right at the center of that is an enterprise system that you need to put in place. And can that system be able to analyze the health of your overall assets and condition of your business? And the answer is absolutely. All right. Let's get going with the interview. Kenneth Forlemu. That's Forlemu, senior architect. Not many of those guys out there, so you'll be able to find him. Reach out to him on his stat card. We'll have all the other contact information at industrialtalk.com. So enjoy the interview with transactional data's on the hot seat. Let's not mess around with that. Enjoy. All right, Kenneth, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast. I am so glad that you made time in your schedule to be able to be on this particular podcast and share your sage advice with asset management. There you go. That's it. That's my introduction. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me to join your podcast.
It's definitely the honors on this side. What's interesting is because I got your stat card up there. I've got your LinkedIn stat card. I've got your form that you filled out, and I'm telling you, you've got mad street cred out there when it comes to maintenance, asset management, and that Infor EAM platform. And I always think that Infor EAM platform is a facilitator of the Industry 4.0, because it's one thing, and we're going to go into this, and you're going to tell your story, but I have to get this off my chest. Listeners, bear with me. So, all this talk and all this excitement that's wrapped around Industry 4.0, and it's like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but they have no place to put the data. Like, you got to have it. And then when you get the data, you got to be able to sort of do something with it. Not just
you have to translate in some fashion. Yes.
Right. Collection of data for the sake of collecting data. Well, it's like digging a ditch just because.
Data transformation is quite a big deal these days because, as you know, they call it big data, but it's all about basically AI, artificial intelligence these days. That's the only way you can actually manage such unstructured data.
Before we get into this, so let's give us a little background on who Kenneth is, and then we're going to just dive into transactional asset health.
Yes. So my name is Kenneth Forlemu. I hail from originally from Cameroon. That's in the west part of Africa. Came to the States to study in 1994 and went did my MBA and joined Infor 1999, and here I am to date, so 21 plus years.
You're one of the old ones.
I'm one of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, but boy, do you know that system? You know that. Have you always been with the sort of the EAM platform?
Yes. So I started with MP2, which is the brainchild of of EAM, and then progressed to Infor EAM, which I've been using for the last 18, 19 years. So
that's interesting. You've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot, and I've gone through the ranks too, from consulting to project manager to architect, which I am today. So it's the full breadth of the EAM implementation.
There's no question I could ask you that you don't know.
I hope so.
Because I can imagine you just sort of sometimes sit back and you say, I was with MT2. We had this system. We were pretty proud of it and all this good stuff. And it did a lot of fun stuff to where you are today. And you're looking at what, the cloud suite that Infor has, all of those solutions, how they talk to each other and link and collect data, great insights. I can imagine how far that is.
But the good news about Infor EAM is that it's growing very rapidly, which means that I am never bored to learn new things. So every single release has a lot of stuff that I have to learn. So it's progressing very, very fast.
So that's interesting. We were talking briefly prior to the podcast. Innovation never stops, and that even includes with the Infor EAM platform. And it's like, man, that's a pretty doggone robust platform, and it's still evolving.
It's still growing, adding new features every half a year or two.
I have to ask the question. I have to. Where are you getting it? Is that internal, or do you listen to users, end users saying, "Hey, we really would like this thing to do X, Y, Z. Would you?" And then, of course, create the reason. But
there's usually three areas. We have user conferences. That users actually share experiences. We have what we call the product improvement requests that customers can actually submit requests for improvements. And then, of course, we are on the road implementing EAM, and we meet new challenges every day, which we need to meet customer demands and customer needs. So we all project that back to our development team, reviews them, contacts industry experts, and then puts them in a roadmap for what is necessary.
See, and this is, once again, that's just industry-wide. We just never stop innovating.
No,
and that innovation always constantly impacts the enterprise. It's a beautiful thing, honestly. It's a beautiful thing, and I bet you still get to the point where it's like, wow, that's cool. That's cool.
It is. Yeah. It is. In fact, just 2 days ago, I saw something in Infor EAM, which I had not seen before, and I said, "Oh, that was really cool." You know, they just slide in some new features that nobody talks about, which are very neat.
See, and cool is a technical term. Yeah, I might add.
Yeah,
cool, technical. All right, before we can really get into the conversation, I want to sort of frame this discussion because this is interesting. I've had the fortunate opportunity to interview a lot of people, and this whole Industry 4.0, IoT, IIoT, Edge, Cloud, you name it, all under the Industry 4.0 sort of banner, digital journey. It never stops.
Yes.
The interesting part about that, if I put my business hat on, is there, I mean, do I have to really go down that road, one, or two, I have existing data that I just don't even access. Yes. I would see, and that's where we start talking about transactional data. Can you sort of define that a little bit?
Yes, transactional data for us means that this is data which is being created from using InforEAM. So when you capture all your inputs, all your attributes on work orders, whether it is work management, procure to pay, plan to inventory, when you have all that data in the system, this is structured data at this point. You can now use it because you have all the attributes you use it for, to actually use some algorithms, some logic, some business use cases to actually capture exactly how what you want to capture out of the system. So we use our current transactional data to develop algorithms to measure whatever we want to measure. In this case, perhaps asset health.
And see, and that's not even, you haven't even deployed an IoT device yet.
Not
You're
yet.
Just looking at transactions within the business. And I'm creating a work order.
That's correct.
I have my asset registry, and I've got data behind it now, but there's a lot of work that has to be done to get to that point, right?
Oh, yes, and that's part of our implementation, because when we go to implement EAM, we need to find out what are the overarching requirements for the customer. What's your goal, right? EAM has, I mean, you're going to achieve a lot from EAM. We want to make sure that as part of implementation, we're capturing all the inputs that may be used to actually calculate asset health.
See, that's interesting because you could sit there, have that conversation, have that design conversation of saying what's important, what's not, where are the gaps. This is how the system sort of deals with it. And they'd be able to really say, I got a good picture. Let's take this transactional data and create this dashboard, this insight, this ability. And it's really just from the system itself.
From the system itself, no, I mean, the only added, I guess, energy would be to come up with the algorithm on what to define as asset health in your industry. What do you consider asset health? That's the key, because it differs from industries.
But you're glossing over. You've got to put the time, energy, and effort in the beginning to be able to do that right.
A lot.
Yeah, and my history and recommendation to the leaders or listeners is the fact that has to be done. And don't cut corners. It can be arduous, painful, but don't cut corners on that. It makes,
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
It makes probably the implementation far more successful.
And that I think that what you said is very, very interesting, because there are different, when we go to customer sites, they are on different levels of their maintenance operations. We have very mature companies. We have companies that are just getting into maturity. Those companies that are very mature in their operations are the companies that want to make sure that they have all the inputs to capture their asset health. Other companies that may not be at that same level just go incrementally or just phase it in, right? We don't have to do everything at on phase 1. We can go to phase 2, phase 3, or phase 4. So you can just progressively go into the implementation to make sure that by phase 5, if that's where you're going to end, you have all the inputs to actually calculate asset health.
So
it doesn't have to on day 1.
That's good. So you can deploy the Infor EAM platform incrementally.
Yes.
Wow.
And
see, I didn't know that. That's good.
And that's what we advise. In fact, because what we've discovered is that many customers who want to get everything, all the bells and whistles before they actually go live, they may never go live.
Yeah,
they may never go live.
You're right about that. That's true. Nobody's going to say, "I'm ready. Let's turn it on."
I mean, I always tell them with a very simple example.
That's good.
If you have a new app in the App Store,
right,
you notice that you have updates perhaps every couple of months, and within 5 years, you have a full-fledged app. But from day 1, it didn't have all the features that you thought you could have.
Good example.
Because you have to incrementally add the features to mature, make changes along the way until you get it right.
See, I like that. That's a great analogy. That's a great example. The other thing that exists out in a mature business, you've got legacy stuff. You got legacy systems and legacy data collecting, transmitting devices.
Correct.
That's all a part of that, right? You sort of optimize what they have right now. You could do it incrementally. We've already established that. But that would be an ideal situation, like optimize that existing, portfolio of systems.
I agree. And in fact, I know we may not talk about that today, but that's the reason we have the InforEAM, because we want to be the center of the digital transformation. That's where Infor wants to be. And that's our goal.
And that's InforOS, right?
That's InforOS.
And that helps facilitate or connect legacy systems, right?
That's basically what it is.
See.
Yes. So we want to be the center of the enterprise ecosystem, right, for all their digital transformation needs.
And then once again, you get the transactional data from these legacy systems, and it's able to create greater insights and vision into the health of your asset in general and your organization.
Yes, and because InforOS may be the center of your ecosystem, we can just grab all that data and put in a data warehouse, what we call a data lake.
The lake,
and then we can now transform it and analytic tools to get exactly what we want.
I'm always fascinated by the fact that, and many of these mature, manufacturing businesses have all this data. It exists. And
they have it already.
Yeah. And then with this solution, this Infor EAM solution and the power it possesses, you fundamentally change that particular business with that platform. I see things that I've never seen before.
That's correct. In fact, that's why we have, I'm sure you've heard of, we have the Burst analytic tool.
That's right.
The AI, the Coleman, Infor Coleman, which is our AI tool. So those are the tools that can be used to actually farm this data warehouse to get exactly what we need to make sense out of the data.
I've got to ask the question. Let's say, I mean, I've been very fortunate, and I've experienced a lot of different types of platforms.
Sure.
Now, you mentioned briefly about how you've sort of changed as you've gone along, and you kept on growing and made it more powerful, more intuitive, whatever it might be.
Correct.
Where is it going? Can it ever get? Are you 95% there, and then now you're fighting for the last 5%, the incremental improvement? Or where are you at?
I'm not sure that anybody knows where we are, right? It's one of those. It's just constant improvement, right? I mean, the world is changing, processes change, requirements change, and we just go with the flow. So it's but for what I would say is that Infor EAM is very mature as a product. It's very mature. But otherwise, since things are changing on the world in terms of processes and manufacturing requirements, we have to pursue that too, regulations are coming up. We have to make sure that we build in all the regulation tools in there.
Yeah, because your platform is that robust and flexible, and the way it's designed is pretty spectacular.
It is.
We spoke of manufacturers never stop innovating. Manufacturers never stop. And everything that goes into manufacturing, all the inputs, they never stop, right?
No.
And therefore you can't be the system that says, I'm sorry, we can't accommodate that new innovation right there. You can't.
Yes, and
good luck.
And we also have to be to update with the technology too. Technology is changing, right? I mean, not a few years ago, we had a full revamp of EAM with what we call HTML5, because we had to make Infor EAM platform agnostic, browser agnostic. So you have Firefox, you have Chrome, you have Chrome. So before it was just IE Explorer, and that was a limiting factor for us. But now, if you have any browser, you can use EAM. It is browser agnostic today
because it's a cloud-based solution. Jump on that, and there's just so much great things that exist with that Infor EAM, and not just that, Infor in general, the thinking that is going on, the conversations that are taking place, not just internally, but also externally, the users, the communities out there, they're just saying, and it's just making your system just amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I can tell. You've been there for 21 years, and you look like you're 13.
But the good news, the actual good news for my part is that I also had the opportunity to work in what we call the service industries at the time with Infor. And what I meant is that I was open to seeing other Infor applications, right? The cloud suites, cloud suite financials, cloud suite industrial.
Yes.
And our products are pretty good. I'll say that.
I have to ask the question, I get Infor EAM, there's a look, there's a feel, there's a user experience with it, right? And that's all a part of it, because you don't want it to look like garbage. Nobody will use it, and it better navigate well, because nobody will use it. And it's all about, getting people to use it. If they don't use it and then enter in good information, then it's just sort of, once again, it's a people and culture.
And in fact, that's one of the things which I would say that Infor has done, which was critical. That after acquiring all these many companies with applications, they had to make sure that they all have the same look and feel.
That's exactly correct.
So that's the main thing, because otherwise you go to a company, they're using Infor EAM and the other person is using, let's say, some other application. They wouldn't even tell if they are from the same company.
Yeah.
Right. So we have an in-house department where their sole job is to unify the platforms.
See, I love that. I mean, because if I was king of Infor, I'd probably screw it up, and it would be orange over here, and then the other platform would probably be green, and it would look like it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. But that's good. And there is a look that is it's not threatening. And I've been a part of other systems long ago, by the way.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, long ago. Yeah, and they were awful.
Yeah, they've made it quite easy for the eyes, I should say.
And what's interesting? Because you have InforOS, and I remember long ago, taking off my history hat here, is the biggest challenge was always like, you'd walk into a client and say, so, what about your legacy systems? What's important? What's not? What are you doing? You have that conversation, and there's always the time when somebody says, that's the most important legacy system, and I'm never getting rid of it. And it might have been a doggone Excel spreadsheet. Who knows, right? Then you got to try to figure out an interface between the Excel spreadsheet and your enterprise system. It's a mess.
I know.
Absolute
I know.
mess. Yeah, you sit there and in pain. All right, we're going to have to wrap this up. I like it. Transactional asset health. That is a powerful conversation. You're looking at Infor EAM just through the transactional activity of your business, and let's say the legacy systems that exist today, you're able to pull out some really decent gold nugget of information and insights.
Definitely.
Take that back to your leadership.
I will.
Gold nuggets of information, assets, and insights. Whatever. Put it on a bumper sticker. Hey, are you active out there on LinkedIn?
Yes, I am on LinkedIn, yes.
Okay. You've got a good stat card out there. And I'm going to spell this out for you. Kenneth, Kenneth, Forlemu. Did I say that right?
That's correct.
And that's Forlemu.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's not many out there that.
No,
that
I'm the only one.
Okay. Can you believe it? You're the only one
Yes.
on LinkedIn.
That I know of. Yes.
Check it out, man. I guarantee
Yes.
you. That's pretty impressive. What, a gazillion users of LinkedIn. So reach out to him, man. He's the only one. He's that rare. All right. Kenneth, thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk Podcast. Absolutely enjoyed the conversation. Now, listeners, do not go away. Stay tuned. We're going to wrap it up all on the other side of the break. Remember, Kenneth, we're going to wrap that up for him. All the contact information will be industrialtalk.com, of course. Thank you, Kenneth, again.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, listeners, stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
All right, Kenneth Forlemu. Sorry about that, Kenneth. I'm trying, baby. All right, you can tell he has some mad skills out there. Reach out to him on his LinkedIn. He would be absolutely happy to connect. Now, we talked a lot about Infor EAM on this particular podcast. Now, you have a suite of other cloud solutions within the Infor family. They've got the OS. That means Infor OS, you can connect to all those legacy systems, which I know you have, right? And then you've got also Infor Coleman. That's their AI product. I'm telling you, it's exciting times. All right. Reach out to him. You're going to have all the information that you need about Kenneth at industrialtalk.com. As always, I'm telling you to be bold, brave, dare greatly, and not just you, but I want you to find individuals that are bold, brave, and dare greatly, and then you'll change the world, and you're going to have a great time. Everything out on industrialtalk.com. Have a wonderful day. Be safe, and we're going to have another interview shortly.